first time ever, are heading to the top flight of English football. This is what being a football fan is all about.
Together, anything is possible.
Afternoon, Cherries fans, and welcome back to the latest video on Up the Cherries in all departments. After the impressive 3-0 dismantling of Swansea, it's back to cup action. After beating Burnley in the last round, we face another side we are all too familiar with. After that, they are just down the M27. Are we rivals? Well, we'll get to that as well. To preview this game, it's a pleasure to welcome onto the show Mitch Le Tissier. Hello, Mitch. How are you doing? You all right?
Hi, Craig. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem at all. Pleasure to have you on. So let's go back to the day when the draw was announced. What did Saints fans think when that draw was made and you found out you'd be coming back to Dean Court?
I think firstly, you're probably just happy to avoid the big guns that are left in. As I'm sure probably Bournemouth fans were and everyone else. But I think it's a game where it gives you a good chance of going through. So I think most Saints fans would have been pretty pleased with that, to be honest.
Excellent stuff. And last season, I think everybody will agree, was quite strange. But casting our minds back, the Cherries started very well and won 3-1 at St Mary's, while Saints struggled in the early stages of the season. Where did it begin going right, in your opinion, for yourselves, and wrong for us?
I think, obviously, everyone highlights the Leicester game as a turning point after that. I think up until that point, we played three at the back quite a lot, and that wasn't Ralph's sort of MO previously when he was at Leipzig. He was kind of pigeonholed as the 4-2-2-2, as he likes to call it, 4-4-2 if you're British. And I think after he switched to that and he was kind of true to himself and he went for it and he played the way that he wanted to play, I think players bought into that, and I think our results obviously picked up off the back of that, and we got momentum rolling. We played really well after the season came back from lockdown. I think I saw something that sort of in the calendar year of 2020 last season, I think we were right up there in terms of form. So I think that would be us. And in terms of Bournemouth, I think obviously you won the old we won at St Mary's Cup in October, kind of all went wrong from there. Maybe you just peaked too soon. Maybe that was your final. I don't know. I think with Bournemouth being objective and not trying to be a wind up, I think my view on Bournemouth is that it went a bit stale, and you still having players in your first 11, having spent an awful lot of money over the period of 4 or 5 years, that had players like Simon Francis, Stephen Cook, the other fullback Adam Smith, players like that. Who, they're good, honest professionals, but are they really Premier League quality defenders? You'd have to say not. And to have spent the money that Bournemouth spent in the time that they did, and to not have replaced guys. Is probably ultimately where Bournemouth fell down and it caught up with them eventually.
You do allude to that 9-0 defeat against Leicester, and wasn't a pretty game for Southampton. It's got to be said, but it was a turning point because Ralph Hasenhüttl managed to get you guys far in, and there was an instant reaction. Do tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it was a lot to do with Ralph thinking, I think Ralph tried to stick with we were playing three at the back quite a lot, and probably because he didn't trust our defenders to play with two centre-backs, to be honest. And I think that Leicester game was kind of the trigger to go, right, well, I might as well go for it and be true to myself, which is what I think Ralph then did. And the 4-2-2-2 came out, and obviously we got going from there. Obviously it helped as well that Danny Ings found some form and then started rattling in the goal. So I think that was the key to the turnaround, rather than just the 9-0, which obviously the 9-0 was the catalyst to those changes, but the 9-0 itself, I don't think was a massive turn.
And just going back to a couple of years back beforehand, you managed to get to Wembley, where it was a tight game against Chelsea, wasn't it? Really, who eventually won it. Looking at the sides still in the competition this year, do you think you could spring a surprise and win the cup this year, providing you get past us first?
To be honest, I haven't looked that deeply, and off the top of my head, I probably couldn't tell you which of the big guns are still in there. I'm assuming Man City is still in there, aren't they? I think obviously it's going to be difficult. Yeah, it's difficult to sit here and say we could, but we have beaten Liverpool in the last 3 months, beat Man City at the end of last season. On our day, if we're right, we can take on anybody, and we make teams uncomfortable with that high press style. But I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to win the cup, and probably not. No. Especially not the way we're playing at the minute.
Anyway. Of course, Southampton have had some gifted, talented players throughout the years, but also some great managers. What is your view of Ralph Hasenhüttl's time on the South Coast?
I think he came in off the back of 3 dreadful managers in Claude Puel, Manuel Pellegrini, and obviously Mark Hughes, probably being the worst of the 3. And he had a hell of a rebuild to do. I think it might have been his first game. We lost 2-0 at Cardiff. I remember there's a video of him sort of walking over to the fans and sort of doing this to say, I'll turn it around, don't worry. And he did, to be fair. He kept us up fairly comfortably in the end in his first season. We flew last season, sort of in the second half of the season after a really bad start. And this year's kind of been the opposite. We started brilliantly. Obviously, we were top of the league at the start of November, and we've had a real fall from grace since then. But I think we've got to be a bit realistic with the squad and the money that we've spent. We were never going to be able to challenge for European places. Probably the best we could hope maybe was like a 10th place finish or something like that. We're heavily reliant on Danny Ings to score the goals, and in terms of squad depth, we haven't got enough to be really up there challenging like we were when Pochettino or Koeman were here.
And let's, of course, talk about this rivalry. There's quite a bit of banter between the fans. To be honest, I was giving some stick when Saints were struggling and we were flying high in the Premier League, but it's vice versa as well. Do you actually see us as a rival and miss not having us around?
No, not in any way do I see Bournemouth as a rival. In fact, I and a lot of Saints fans that I know would have regarded Bournemouth before they come up to the league certainly as kind of a second team. I thought Bournemouth played some really good football under Eddie Howe to get to the Premier League. They were a good watch. They were a good addition to the Premier League at that time. I think Eddie Howe's bubble probably was a bit bigger than it should have been based on the fact that he had 5 years and a hell of a lot of money in the Premier League, and you were still conceding sort of mid-60s, 70 goals a season. Nathan Ake is a good player, but he didn't really make any difference to your actual stats in terms of conceding goals. I think that is ultimately what's cost Bournemouth their place in the Premier League and Eddie Howe's job, I guess. No, I don't see it. I know there are some Saints fans that get involved with it, and I think it's probably more of a Bournemouth thing because you guys haven't got a nearby, a local rival. I guess we're probably the nearest thing to it for you guys. But obviously, no, in terms of rivalry, I'd be happy if Bournemouth got promoted again. And I don't see it at all. Don't buy into it at all. For me, there's only one rival, and they're in the opposite direction of the M27.
Yeah, I think we know who you're on about, Mitch.
I can't bring myself to say the word, but
Yeah, no, fair enough. To be honest, if it was the other way around, and Southampton went down and we stayed up, we would miss Southampton. It's that friendly rivalry, isn't it? Whereas we haven't got that. Yeah. Whereas we haven't really got that in the Championship. The closest we've got is Reading and Wickham. So, which is still quite some distance.
Yeah, no, I don't see it as a rivalry at all myself.
Well, seeing as you are unbeaten in the last 4 games at Dean Court, the last defeat coming in 2016, how do you think it will go, Mitch?
I did have a quick look at you guys' you been getting on? Jonathan Woodgate's still in charge, isn't he, at the moment?
Yes, yeah, he is.
Right now? Yeah, I mean, you've obviously picked up a little bit since then. It's just the Jason Tindall thing. I just thought was the classic. Number 2 taking over as number 1. It just never seems to work. I mean, loads of examples. Sammy Lee did it at Bolton after Sam Allardyce left. Chris Hutchings took over at Wigan after Paul Jewell left. They both were sacked by Christmas. Obviously, your man there is the same. Had a quick look through your results. Obviously, a great result, beat Swansea 3-0 last time out. But look, I looked at the lineup there, and trying to be objective about it, I don't think any of those players would get in our first 11, even as badly as they are at the moment. Being entirely realistic, and I think Bournemouth are, in terms of their squad at the moment, where they are a top end Championship team, and Saints are probably underperforming a little bit. Not vastly, like I said, maybe 3 or 4 places. Being 14th, I think they are in the Premier League, and I think if Saints turn up and apply themselves and match Bournemouth for effort, you'd like to think that the additional quality that we've got in our squad would be enough to see us through.
Well, we'll have to see tomorrow. It is 12:15 kickoff, so it's nice and early one. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can do something. I'm quite excited about the game. And I think promotion for us, and I'm sure you'd agree, Mitch, is the number 1 priority.
Of course, it has to be. And to be honest, I've seen people say polls and stuff on Twitter. I don't think we'll go down. I think we've probably got enough points, even if we carry on being as dreadful as we have been. But people say things like, "Oh, win the cup and go down." I'd rather win the cup and go down. I don't buy into that. I'm probably of a generation where the FA Cup isn't as important as it was to sort of my parents' generation and those before. But I just can't see how you could win. Look at Wigan, for example. They went down and won the cup, and they had a nice day out and they've got the cup, but they've spent the next 7 or 8 years bumming around League One, haven't they? And being skint and
yes,
everything that goes with that, as both of us know. That's not somewhere I'd like to go again. FA Cup's a nice to have, but I'd never prioritise it certainly over Premier League promotion or relegation. Yeah,
well, to be perfectly honest, I think you'll be absolutely fine, Mitch, this season, and I think you'll pull away from that bottom 3, by some margin. But no, many thanks for joining me on this show today. And all the very best for the future as well.
Yeah, all the best, mate. Just not 12:15 tomorrow, but after that, I hope you guys finish the season strongly, and perhaps we can have a game next season, hopefully in the Premier League.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah. Well, we'll see you next year, Mitch.
All right,
cheers, mate. Take care. Cheers. And thank you, everybody, for joining me on this opposition preview. Please do remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons as well. Until the next video, up the cherries, and I'll see you then.
Bournemouth, for the first time ever, are heading to the top flight of English football. This is what being a football fan is all about.
Together, anything is possible.